I will call to order the meeting of the Chautauqua County Legislature on August 23rd, 2023. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Binkowski.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Heiser.
Here.
Mr. Hemmer.
Here.
Mr. Muldowney.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Nebel.
Here.
Ms. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhollow.
Here.
Mr. Proctor.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Here.
Mr. Torres.
Here.
Ms. Vanstrom.
Here.
Mr. Wilfong.
Here.
Chairman Shagnon.
Here.
There are 18 members present and 1 absent. There is quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance by Legislator Heiser.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you for our county and for allowing us all to have a small part in the administration of it. We are blessed to be able to freely live, work, and worship here. I pray that we would conduct the business of the county as well as our lives to the best of our ability, but also with humility and patience, always looking towards you for guidance. I pray for the many giving volunteers, staff members, supervisors, and department heads in our county. I pray for those that have given themselves to our protection and who uphold the law on our streets and in our court systems. I also pray for this legislative body, that we would always be quick to listen and slow to speak. Please give us direction in this meeting and in the leadership for this county. I pray that you direct our steps. In our Lord and my Savior's name, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our last meeting on July 26th, 2023. Motion to approve by Legislator Binkowski, a second by Legislator Harmon. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to our first privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject relating to any local law, resolution, or motion appearing on tonight's agenda. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the first privilege of the floor? Please.
Hi, Anthony Jordan, 144 Clifton Avenue, Jamestown. I just got a question here on Resolution 238-23. Wasn't that voted down as far as a hotel tax a few months ago? Or is this just the way you describe extension, is this the existing tax is going to be extended, or do you have a new tax that's going to be applied to hotels? Just for clarification.
This is actually in relation to the additional 1% sales tax, the implementation of that. It's the third of 3 resolutions. The first one was asking the state to allow the county to continue that. The second resolution was actually voted on to support the state in passing that, and this is a resolution to actually implement that additional 1% sales tax.
Continuing it.
Continuing it, correct.
Oh, continue. So this is not over and above what you had already done?
Correct. It's just continuing.
Okay.
The current one expires at the end of November.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the first privilege of the floor? Seeing no one, we will move on. And the next item on our agenda, we have 2 proclamations this evening. The first proclamation will be declaring the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And I would invite legislators Proctor, Davis, and Rankin, as well as the county executive, to join me down front.
If I could, too, I notice there are several friends, if you will, that are in the audience tonight. So if you are a survivor of childhood cancer or affiliated.
Bring them down after.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's fine. We'll wait. We'll do it after the motion. I apologize. So we have the proclamation. It reads, the Office of County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York. Proclamation. Whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease for children in the United States, and whereas pediatric cancer can occur in different places throughout the body, such as in lymph nodes, the nervous system, muscles, bones, and skin. And whereas in the United States, 46 children per day, or 16,790 children per year, are diagnosed with cancer. And whereas, according to the New York State Cancer Registry, from 2015 to 2019, there was an annual average of 998 cases of cancer in youths ages 0 to 19 in the state, and an annual average of 7 cases of cancer in youth in Chautauqua County. And whereas in the United States, 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late and with metastatic disease, an estimated 40,000 children are on active treatment at any given time, and 20% of the children with cancer will not survive. And whereas over the last 30 years, only 6 new drugs have been developed to specifically treat childhood cancer. And whereas 2/3 of pediatric cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment's toxicity, and 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. And whereas, depending on the type of cancer, pediatric cancer treatments can take several months or even years, taking an enormous toll on children, as well as creating emotional and financial hardships for families trying to do the best they can to support their children's battles. And whereas hundreds of not-for-profit organizations at the local and national level, including our own Callie's Crusade, are helping children with cancer and their families cope through educational, emotional, and financial support. And whereas too many children are affected by this deadly disease, and more must be done to raise awareness, further research, and treatment, and find a cure. Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Chautauqua County Legislature, Legislator Martin Proctor, Legislator District 18, John Davis, Legislator District 16, and Elizabeth Rankin, Legislator District 12, do hereby proclaim the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Chautauqua County. And we urge residents and community organizations to come together to raise awareness about pediatric cancer, honor the courageous children who continue to fight their cancer, and remember the children who were taken from us much too soon, and support initiatives to help us find better treatments and end cancer. In witness whereof, we have hereto set our hands and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed on this 23rd day of August, 2023. Signed myself, Martin J. Proctor, District 18, Elizabeth Rankin, District 12, Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman, and John E. Davis, Legislator, District 16. Now, at this time, we would like to ask families or childhood cancer survivors or those battling cancer to please join us at this time.
So once again, thank you. Thank you all for your support in honoring Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. I have my own story that some may know, in which my 3.5-year-old daughter, Callie, died from acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And every child up here, along with their family, have their own stories. Many have twists and turns, bumps and bruises, obstacles and adversity, but all extremely dissimilar stories. As you witnessed, it was like pulling teeth to get some of them to come up here, but it's because none of them are wanting the spotlight or looking for recognition as a fighter or a survivor or a hero. Fighting monumental battles, defying the odds, overcoming any and every obstacle set in their way. None of them even want to be known as a child with cancer. They just want to be viewed as a normal child, growing up and doing normal, childlike, or teen-like things. Kids with cancer need some normalcy in a world that is anything but normal. And this reminds me of a poem that I once read and really held dearly. They ride tricycles in the hallways, not the park. They know the names of their chemo instead of their classmates. The nurses and doctors become their new family and friends. Their laughter will make your heart melt. Their strength will make a grown person cry. If you've ever seen a kid fighting cancer, it will change your life forever. In your efforts to bring more attention to pediatric cancer here in Chautauqua County, you are doing just that, bringing more normalcy, raising awareness, changing the perception, and letting these children, along with their families, know that they don't have to fight alone. So thank you. Thank you.
I've asked Laura Layton if she would say a few words as well. Laura has a story to share with all of us.
Good evening. I'd like to first take a moment and just say thank you for the invitation here today. It affords me an opportunity to tell my story as it relates to the impacts my family endured when presented with a diagnosis of cancer. As you know, my name is Laura Layton. I'm a grandmother of 3 boys. I'm more affectionately known as Nani to those boys. 2 of those boys are identical twins, Christian and Carson. They are the sons of my oldest son, Corey, and together we managed through the cancer care plan for Christian. On March of 2020, 2 days prior to the twins' 2nd birthday, Christian was diagnosed with 4th stage high-risk neuroblastoma, a diagnosis that I had never encountered in 25 years of being in the medical field, a diagnosis that immediately threw us into a blur for the next several days as we were seeking medical treatment for what we thought was a problem with constipation. We were unaware that this very common symptom was indicative of neuroblastoma. In fact, I didn't know much about childhood cancer at all as it pertains to the treatment protocol, funding, or what the children and their families actually endured. I do now. When faced with a diagnosis of cancer, we experience the shock, the extreme feeling of suffering, and the potential loss of our child every single day. It was the barrier that prevented us from actually understanding and learning about clinical trials, medications that would be administered, and all the treatment therapy that Christian would endure. Our day-to-day normal life was turned upside down, and the needs of our children left at home were tasked to others. We were many days out of work with a loss of income, which had an added impact on the level of stress to our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Upon diagnosis, we were quickly immersed into the medical system as an urgent admit to our new normal instantly was consumed by medical care and managing the needs of Christian through this treatment process. We were absorbing unknown terms, learning how to properly care for and maintain medication port lines, measuring medication and administering 9 to 10 different medications twice a day, managing a timeline to fit in travel for weekly clinic visits for tests, and it was to say the least overwhelming. Pediatric cancer treatment requires continuous parental and or caregiver presence through the entire treatment process. Hospitalization admissions are lengthy, and the stay is always undetermined. Admissions can last from anywhere from 1 week to 1 month, depending on the child's ability to recover from that treatment. Frequent hospital admissions are expected due to the side effects of the chemotherapy and or other protocol therapy the child endures, some of which are unscheduled. We found ourselves in emergency situations multiple times when infections would flare up due to bacteria building up in existing ports, or just our child not recovering from the chemotherapy that he had received. Pediatric cancer caregivers do not leave the hospital. They don't leave the hospital room. It requires one to stay to recover. You stay for a week, you could stay for a month, and at times we did just that. You are confined to the room most of the time, and some days if your child feels well enough, you can walk or play in the halls on the hospital floor you are admitted to. And if you are lucky enough to play in those halls and meet other children and their parents and caregivers, we quickly learn to cherish every minute, every little smile, and every giggle, because the next day or next week, that child you made friends with may not be there again. This throws you into a state of post-traumatic stress symptoms, reliving the initial fear of losing your child as it resurfaces again and again and again. Sleep is limited there at the hospital. You don't sleep through admissions. The nurses' protocols are in and out of the room frequently, monitoring vitals, drawing bloods, etc. Post-stem cell transplants we endured required another additional isolation period of 100 days due to the distance from our home to the hospital and the urgency to seek medical care if there was a negative reaction to that treatment required a 3-month isolation stay in a local hospital in Buffalo, New York. Clinical follow-ups and repeat scans are lifelong to monitor the potential effects of the chemotherapy, such as hearing loss, vision loss, and the check for relapse of cancer. I now refer to those scans and tests as my scan anxiety. The fear of cancer returning at any time in the future and the potential side effects from chemotherapy will forever be haunting to my family. Fast forwarding today, with a lot of self-education and support around us, a lot of charities and funds bringing forth education, we now understand what neuroblastoma is, and we now understand the impact that it has on the children in our nation. National pediatric cancer funding is at 4%. That's all pediatric cancers combined, while other adult cancers substantially have more funding and more exposure to the public know. I'd like to see pediatric cancer in Chautauqua County and the funding increased, and therefore I'm proud to stand tall with Chautauqua County as we bring awareness this September to childhood cancer in our community. Families caring for a child with a cancer diagnosis need to know there are resources in our community. And I know that our children are our future, and they deserve more than 4. Thank you.
Again, we just like to thank everyone for being here. It's a challenging time. I know some of these children are battling day in and day out, but with your support and your help, we would like to do what we can to bring awareness, one, to childhood cancer, and hopefully bring an end or at least some significant progress in treatment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the second proclamation, which is recognizing September 17th, 2023 through September 23rd, 2023 as Sheriff's Week in Chautauqua County. And I would invite the County Executive and Legislator Niebel to join me down front. This is entitled The Office of the County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York, a proclamation. Whereas the Office of Sheriff has been an integral part of the criminal justice system in New York State and in Chautauqua County throughout our history. having been established in the state's first constitution in 1777 and continued in every succeeding constitution, and having been one of the original constitutional offices guaranteed to the people upon the founding of our county. And whereas, despite changes in its function, status, and powers during its long history, the office of sheriff has managed a continuous existence, preserved its distinguishing heritage, and continued to be an essential component of our criminal justice community. And whereas the office of sheriff has evolved into a modern, professional, full-service law enforcement agency manned by fully trained police officers using state-of-the-art technology and applying the latest and most advanced theories and practices in the criminal justice field. And whereas the office of sheriff is unique in the community, and the duties of the office go far beyond the traditional role of keeper of the peace and extend into many facets of public service, including maintaining the county jail, providing security in our courts, dispatching emergency services, and serving and executing civil process for our courts. And whereas, as a constitutionally empowered office directly responsible to the people, the office of sheriff remains, even today, responsive and accountable to the public it serves. And
whereas it is fitting to celebrate the historical contributions of the office of sheriff and the significant role the sheriffs play in our modern criminal justice system. Now therefore we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, and Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Legislature, as well as Terry Nebel, Legislator District 5, do hereby recognize this week, the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2023, as Sheriff's Week in Chautauqua County, and I encourage all residents and organizations in Chautauqua County to recognize the important services provided to the citizens of this county by Sheriff James Quattrone and the members of the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Department. In witness whereof, we have hereto set our hands and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed this 23rd day of August, 2023. If we could please have the sheriff come down and accept this proclamation. I would personally like to thank the sheriff. Maybe dating our age, it goes back to one of the very first people I met 47 years ago when I moved here with our family. But our friendship and now our professional relationship has grown. I could not think of a better person to lead this county and the men and women in our sheriff's department. So on behalf of myself and the citizens, thank you so much for everything you do.
The county executive. The county executive failed to say we were like 4 or 5 years old. But no, I'm here accepting this. But the reason I can be here is because we have some great men and women in the sheriff's office doing many of these details that gives me the time to be here. We are out serving search warrants tonight. We're doing different things. And in the week of September 17th through 23rd, we're going to have different events throughout that week to showcase the various parts of our agency, and hopefully the community will be able to take part in those. So thank you very much.
Clerk?
There are no veto messages from County Executive Wendell from the July 26th, 2023 meeting. There are 6 communications listed on the agenda. Are there any items you wish to have read aloud? Please contact our office if you would like a copy of any of these items.
Okay, that brings us to our public hearing on the agenda. A public hearing regarding the implementation of a community development block grant funded micro enterprise assistance program. And the clerk has a description for us.
Sure. Chautauqua County utilizes $200,000 in community development block grant funds to establish and implement the Chautauqua County Microenterprise Assistance Program, which provided entrepreneurial training and funding to eligible enterprise businesses within Chautauqua County outside of the entitlement communities of Jamestown and Dunkirk. The program was implemented by Chautauqua Opportunities for Development, Inc., CODI, under a grant agreement with the county. CODI provided the training to successful applicants. The first grant awards were approved on March 9th, 2022, with subsequent approvals issued periodically as applications were received and reviewed. A total of $170,000 in grant funds were awarded to 9 micro enterprises, including 4 startup businesses. The balance of the grant funds were used for administrative costs of CODI associated with the program. 6 full-time equivalent jobs were created as a result of this program.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing regarding the implementation of a community development block grant funded microenterprise assistance program. Is there anyone wishing to address the public hearing? Is there anyone wishing to address the public hearing? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Back to the clerk.
Local Law Introductory 8-23, a local law amending Local Law 13-22, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees regarding attorney positions.
Are there any questions, any comments, any discussion on Local Law Introductory 8-23? Legislator Rankin.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like approval to abstain from voting on this due to a conflict of interest.
Okay, Legislator Rankin has requested to abstain from voting because of a conflict of interest. Is there any discussion on her request? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting the request to abstain, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? You can abstain. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion on the local law? Hearing none. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Yes. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlik is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin is abstaining. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes, 1 legislator abstaining, and 1 member absent. The local law is adopted. Local Law Introductory 9-23, a local law amending Local Law 13-22, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees regarding clerk of the legislature and secretary to the legislature.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion on Local Law Introductory 9-23? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlik is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The local law is adopted. Resolutions. 219-23, modification of membership of North Chautauqua County Water District Administrative Board.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
220-23, amend 2023 budget for carts bus tablets 2019 project.
Are there any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
221-23, authorize agreement with New York State DOT for performance of federal aid project PIN 5764.60.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
222-23, accept FAA and NYS DOT funds for aviation capital project rehabilitate airport perimeter fence phase 2 construction.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted with 1 nay vote.
223-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the IT upgrades for public health project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
Any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
224-23, amend 2023 budget for law department.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
225-23, adjust law department account.
Any discussion, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
226-23, amend 2023 budget for office of the sheriff.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
227-23, authorize execution of lease renewal with Federal Bureau of Investigation for tower space, October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2033.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
228-23, FY 2022 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness HMEP Grant Program.
Are there any questions or any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
229-23, authorize acceptance of Indigent Legal Services Grant for the period of July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2023.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
230-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the PPE replenishment project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
Any discussion, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
231-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the lead hazard reduction project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
Any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
232-23, amend 2023 budget for Chautauqua Lake Collaborative Lake Maintenance Services using funding from the 2% occupancy tax program reserve.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
233-23, amend 2023 budget to implement Chautauqua River Stream Bank stabilization at Deming Drive using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments, any questions on the resolution? Legislator Vanstrom.
This is an eminent project, and I hope it moves forward, and I hope we can get this done this season as well, or the damages could be much more expensive, costly, and painful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
234-23, amend 2023 budget for feasibility study for proposed Chautauqua County Water District using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
235-23, amend spending plan in 2023 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
236-23, standard workday and reporting resolution.
Any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
237-23, authorized settlement of insurance coverage claim.
Are there any questions, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
238-23, resolution of the county legislature of the county of Chautauqua extending the additional rate of taxes on sales and uses of tangible personal property and of certain services, on occupancy of hotel rooms, and on amusement charges pursuant to Article 29 of the tax law of the state of New York.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson.
Yes.
Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. (239-23) Quitclaim deeds.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. (240-23) Setting salary for chaplain.
Are there any comments, any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres.
Yes.
Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 18 yes votes and 1 member absent. The resolution is adopted. The motion on the agenda has received the required amount of signatures to bring to the floor. Motion A, urging Governor Hochul to veto Election Law A.04282B and S.3505B.
Are there any questions, any comments, any discussion on the motion? Legislator Proctor.
Thank you. I just want to say that I will be supporting this motion. I feel strongly that this, if passed and not vetoed, it would diminish the importance of our local elections, our towns, our villages, our county, in lumping them in with federal and state. It would diminish the issues that face many of our residents, and we still would have elections on the local level because our cities and villages are exempt. There's a few offices countywide, the sheriff, the DA, the county clerk, our judges. It's not going to save us money. This bill passed through legislation in the middle of the night, and the fact of the matter is local municipalities could have changed their terms of elections if they wanted to. They just haven't. So I will strongly support this motion.
Thank you. Legislator Rankin.
I'd like to thank Legislator Proctor for bringing this forward, and I absolutely agree with him that this has the potential to dilute our local elections without saving any money on the overall level. So I do sincerely hope that Governor Hochul vetoes this. I don't know all the reasons behind it, but I don't think it's going to achieve what they say the purpose is. So thank you, Mr. Proctor.
Thank you. Legislator Nebel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in addition to what Mr. Proctor and Ms. Rankin has stated, I think it's important to understand that the legislation changing the local elections to even-numbered years, it's not going to save any money. In fact, it's going to cost counties more money. For example, by combining local elections with state and national elections, you're going to have more absentee applications process. You're going to have more absentee ballots to send out. All this will result in increased personnel costs. In Chautauqua County, our Board of Election prints their ballots in-house, and thus they save our taxpayers between $60,000 and $75,000 per year. With a much larger ballot, it's doubtful that Chautauqua County and the other 5 counties, or other 4 counties rather, in New York State will be able to print ballots in-house. And finally, as Marty mentioned earlier, you're never going to be able to eliminate odd-year elections. There's always going to be vacancies that occur. There's the constitutional offices like sheriff, county clerk, and DA, some of which occur in odd-numbered years. So, you know, I've seen some dumb legislation come out of Albany. This is among the dumbest I've ever seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Legislator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the first line of the motion, it says, whereas the county legislature believes that increasing the participation in the election process you know, that's the purpose of this. And that's exactly what the law is trying to do, increase participation and reduce costs. And I respect the opinions of the legislators who question the cost, but increasing the participation, I think, is a valid reason to support this. Voter turnout can fluctuate based on many things, but there is a persistent pattern of low participation in local elections. Across the country, only about 15 to 27% of eligible voters turn out for local elections. In Chautauqua County, it is a little bit higher. It's about 33%. So in local elections, about 33% turnout, but in the presidential election, in the last election, 67% turned out. So twice as many are turning out in those years. So it's shown that moving local elections to even-numbered years increases voter turnout. And I think that's a good thing. And when you look at young voters, you know, in Chautauqua County, in the last local election, only 2% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted. By contrast, in the general election in 2020, 48% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted. So to me, it seems that it's a good thing to get more people voting. I can't think why would anybody be afraid of having more people vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Legislator
Yes,
Nebo.
I'd just like to respond to that. Increasing voter participation, I think, is a worthwhile goal, but I don't think there's any indication that this change will do that. In fact, studies have shown that the larger the ballot, the more ballot fatigue you have. As you go across the ballot, more people drop off and don't vote for positions toward the end of the ballot. So while this is while the goal is worthwhile, it practically speaking, this is not going to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Vanstrom.
Colleague, Mr. Nebel, he was a long-standing election commissioner in this county, so when he says it will cause ballot fatigue, he's not just guessing that will happen. He knows it will happen. It's already happened. And I think the true voters that care about their taxes, care about their community, have a stake in a property taxes, a real, stake here with their children attending our public schools or homeschooling, however they choose, will choose to vote as they value it. They're welcome to vote every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Parker.
I just wanted to add to Legislator Nelson that this is not a new initiative. Republicans have long fought back against the measure, claiming that the election alignment is designed to boost voting, and they understand that it's for boosting voting. But I think based on the information that I have read, that the participation in the general elections more than justifies the difference in the voting. As Legislator Nelson said, 1.5 or 2% of 18 to 24-year-olds are voting in our local elections, and voting is one of our most important the things that we do, participatory democracy, and we won't always be here to vote, and it's really important that we bring younger people and other people into the voting process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Legislator Nelson.
I would just like to add that in cities that transitioned from odd to even-numbered year mayoral elections, turnout immediately increased drastically and remained high in the following election cycles. For example, in Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, Baltimore, Maryland, turnout rates in those cities increased by more than 240%. So that might also help to account for, and I understand the issue of ballot fatigue, but still more votes were counted in those elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Other discussion on the motion? Legislator Nebel.
Last comment, Mr. Chairman, I promise. If one of the goals is voter participation, that's fine. But if one of the reasons for this legislation is that it's going to save money, it absolutely is not going to save money. That's a fallacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion on the motion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
No.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
No.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker.
No.
Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor. Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 14 yes votes, 4 no votes, and 1 member absent. The motion is adopted.
Okay, that brings us to announcements. Are there any announcements from legislators for the good of the order? Legislator Gustafson.
Yes, I'd like to just say that the town of Busti is wrapping up their bicentennial celebration that they've been having since April. The final events will be concerts and carnivals between September 21st and 22nd. And then they will end the celebration on the 23rd with a 10 a.m. parade, the concert and carnival from 1 to 10, and then fireworks to celebrate the bicentennial at 10 p.m. So we'd like to have y'all come to Busti for the end of the bicentennial celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Legislator Parker.
I'd just like to announce that this weekend is the Fredonia Farm Festival, which is a large celebration of music, craft. There's all kinds of contests. There's a parade on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and it's very well attended, and we welcome everyone to come there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Legislator Hemmer.
Thank you. On September 2nd in Westfield, there's going to be a grape and wine festival, and it will be held in the park and also at the Grape Discovery Center, and there's just a lot of events going on.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Legislator Proctor.
I'd just like to say that summer is over, and
oops.
Sorry, folks.
Okay, you're shut off.
Boy, did that come out wrong. School's going to be starting very soon, and we all need to be aware of our school bus and stopping for school buses and being aware of kids running around. So that's what I was going for.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Legislator Rankin.
On Sunday of Labor Day weekend, Jamestown's having their festival at Bergman Park. So please come and have a good time with fireworks ending up the evening.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Well, now that summer's over, we'll move on to the second privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject. A member of the legislature may speak on any subject. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is James Jarzynski. I am the mayor of the village of Faulkner, and I am here once again tonight on behalf of my village residents and our businesses. I want to remind this body that our small village that we all know and love has 2,200 people in it, located within approximately 1 square mile, to put my next comments into perspective. Since coming here last month and reporting to you that the village of Faulkner has a problem involving transitional housing and Code Blue recipients being placed at the motel in Faulkner, I've heard absolutely nothing from county officials. I personally took it upon myself to appear before the Human Services and Public Safety Committees of the Legislature to ask for assistance in this matter. I also foiled a request to Chautauqua County to see how much has been paid to this motel in Faulkner for these services by the county since comments were made after my last appearance before this body. It was represented that it was the first time anyone knew this was happening in our community. Of those figures, 2018, the budget end received $230,527 for temporary housing. 2019, Code Blue, it was given $13,395. In temporary housing, it was given $167,438.39. 2020, Code Blue was $34,125. Temporary housing was $205,475.34. 21 was for Code Blue was $26,100. Temporary housing was $222,438. And in 2022 for Code Blue is given $28,090. And for housing, $290,000 and $112,97 for last year, 2022. That adds up to nearly $1.25 million. I reported to the legislature last meeting that Faulkner is a village in the middle of a revitalization that was devastated by 2 fires. Our community has been coming together and working toward a common goal to rebuild our village that we love. We have restarted our Faulkner Business Association / Chamber of Commerce. We have major investment from private business owners, and this past Monday we held an open house as a result of a grant award from Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth for our downtown revitalization. This open house was very well attended by the community, but it is all overshadowed by the overwhelming concern that this body is ignoring our pleas for assistance and a better solution for transitional housing and Code Blue for our county. We are simply too small and without resources to help these individuals. Dumping these individuals off with no services within reach or assistance to meet their needs is disgraceful. My question to this body is whether this motel even meets the state standard for this type of housing. When and I and the village going to hear from a county official? Why are these issues we raised being ignored? It seems there could be a more cost-effective and appropriate way to spend $1.25 million of the taxpayers' money. Code Blue season is fast approaching. When is this body going to help the village of Faulkner? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Hi, I'm Nikki Pierce. I also appeared last month at the meeting on July 26th. I just wanted to give everyone an update of what's been going on in the village of Faulkner since I was last here. The first thing I would do would be to point anyone to read the article in the Post-Journal today, which the mayor was just referencing, detailing all of the funds that have gone to the private owners of the Budget Inn who have received a lot of money over the past several years. It makes me wonder how much of that money could have been used to help the entire community versus one local business owner who, quite honestly, isn't really helping the community very much. I just want to detail 3 updates. The first one is the laundromat, which is in the plaza, which the Budget Inn is also in. The owner of this laundromat doesn't even live here. He lives, I believe, either several hours away, maybe even in Pennsylvania. He has dedicated himself to trying to help our community by doing the following things. He has reduced the hours of the laundromat to no longer being open 24 hours a day. It is now locked and closed between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. This has been a tremendous improvement. Additionally, he removed the benches that were outside that oftentimes vagrants were congregating on, making life quite miserable for those trying to enjoy life in the village. So those are gone now, so that's a positive. The second thing is, since I spoke at the last meeting, I was shockingly approached by many, many people telling me that they were so happy that we're doing this. They're voicing their support. They are voicing their enthusiasm for the community improvements going on, as well as their own safety concerns to me. We've requested that people write us emails, and I have, I think, 6 or 7 here. The majority of the emails, they were all written by community members, but they all have the same concerns, most of them, which are mostly drug-addled people walking on their private property, walking up on their porches, banging on their doors in the middle of the night, asking for money, food, medical care, whatever, not leaving when asked to leave their private property. Also, additionally, people trying to steal things on their private property, looking in windows, looking in garages, just generally being a nuisance on their private property. The third thing I would like to do is point out a new Facebook page enacted by a community member who's here tonight. It's called the Faulkner, New York Neighborhood Watch Facebook page. It's growing very rapidly. It's become very popular, and it's creating a lot of positivity in the village and allowing people, I think, to feel like they have an ability to do something, even if they aren't willing to come to meetings or they can't come to meetings or write letters. They can at least get on this page and be up to date on what's going on in the community, faces to be looking for, faces to be watching out for, and how to help each other have a safer community, generally speaking. The last thing I would say is, as the mayor said, we would ask, for these positive things to continue going forward, we would ask the county government to support and assist us in any way possible. These don't have to be financial assistance, in my opinion. This can be people coming down, talking to us, talking to business owners, walking around, seeing what's going on in the day, even at night. So that's what I would request. I would request everyone to come down. I have a very nice bakery called Persnickety Pies. We have fresh, locally brewed coffee. We have yummy treats. You guys can come down. We'll walk you around, and we'll show you around and let you see what's going on down there. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, sir. I just had 2 comments to make. About 3 weeks ago, myself and Legislator Nelson, we went to the 911 center downtown Jamestown in the Windstream building. That has been totally remodeled down there. It's all state-of-the-art. And we had a tour by dispatcher Marv Cummings and showed us the workings of this. Very impressive. It's just amazing the things that they monitor there between the state police, the Jamestown police, fire. It made my head spin. I couldn't believe how amazing it was, and Marv's a friend of mine, and I do tend to bust his chops a little bit that he doesn't do enough for the county, but I apologized to him that day, and Tom can attest, it's just a whirlwind that's going on there right now. And the new center in our Mayville office is getting remodeled now, and I encourage all the legislators, if you have the time to get a tour of the new one. If you're from Jamestown, go see that one, or wait to see the new one here in Mayville. But it was just amazing. I couldn't say enough, and the people that work there, I mean, some of the calls that they get, we're just sitting there listening to this stuff coming in, and I'm like, like somebody's cat stuck in a tree, and it's, they don't know what to do, and they have to, find out which one is, dire emergency compared to something, and how do you send a police officer to go to certain calls and stuff. But it was very impressive, and I encourage everyone to get a tour of either the Jamestown one or the Mayville one once it's completed.
Thank you.
And my last other thing, being the highway superintendent in the village of Silver Creek, we had a site visit by Rebecca Worcester and her office staff from the planning office, and they're making a tour throughout Chautauqua County, and we've been the 8th municipality that they visited. And they basically sat down with myself and Mayor Hornberg and explained everything that the services that they could provide to the village. And I took them for a tour around the village and showed them some of the projects that we were working on. And there's a couple of the projects that their eyes just popped out of their heads and said, well, we can help you. Let us help you design this, or let me help you do this. So again, another very impressive, another one of our departments that are doing great things that don't get recognized. So I just wanted to compliment both of them for the great work that they're doing for us.
Thank you. Legislator Vanstrom.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman. I just want to give a wholehearted thank you to our jail warden and our sheriff. They run an extremely well-operated jail. Our corrections officers are definitely putting themselves out there every day, and I think Mr. Bankowski knows what I'm talking about. So I just want to say thank you to all of them for their dedication and their duties that they conduct every day in sometimes not the most favorable circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Hello. My name is Danielle Mara, a business and homeowner in the village of Faulkner. I was here last month. So thank you again for a few more minutes of your time. They kind of took a lot of my talking points, but I guess that's a good thing because it shows that we are all trying to rally together for the common good. But I just want to give you a brief summary of my week so far, aside taking 2 of my children away to college, which has been exhausting all in itself. Then comes the village of Faulkner, where Monday evening I attended a presentation at the village hall, as the mayor had mentioned, regarding the potential development of the village of Faulkner. We're hoping to apply for the New York Forward grant application, which would be amazing considering we need at least 1% of our traffic flow to stop in through the busiest intersection second busiest intersection of the county. Tuesday evening, I attended the All Sports Booster meeting for Maple Grove. As Maple Grove, Cassadaga Valley, and Faulkner have combined one or more of their athletic programs, homecoming is scheduled October 12th and 13th, which will include all 3 schools, the students, educators, parents, as well as other various community members. And a parade will pridefully march down Main Street in Faulkner, leading up to Faulkner Central School and all of its gorgeous new improvements, where multiple school-led events will occur over those 2 days. Wednesday, here I am in front of you, and I could go on and say the same things that they said, but I will spare you on that, I guess. Thursday, as also Nikki had stated, that we have our newly formed Facebook Neighborhood Watch in an effort to bring our community together that won't come here and speak awkwardly in front of all of you, as we don't do this very often. We have that meeting that is scheduled tomorrow at 6 p.m. at our Faulkner Library, which I strongly encourage any and all of you to come, even any of you, to come and just hear our villagers speak. Fortunately, I have to throw a negative in here because last week I was inappropriately exposed to a repeat offender that has been charged with public lewdness at least 4 times that I'm aware of within the last 18 months. During the 2 most recent occurrences, he was a budget-in resident. Due to bail reform, of course, I had to put a stay-away order on this man so that he would be taken to here, Mayville, so that I could freely go home. Otherwise, he would have just been released into Ellicott from their holding cell, and he would have, I don't know, would he have followed me home? Could he have found my car that was sitting out front? That was a risk I didn't want to take. Unfortunately, he was released by like noon, I'm not sure, the next day. But I do want to applaud the Ellicott Police Department, as they know that I work in that building nonstop, and they drive by numerous times, as well as the Sheriff's Department for all of my dispatch calls that I have to keep doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
The Knight of Falconer here. My name is Carrie Chase, and I'm a resident of Falconer. I have been a resident of Falconer for 48 years of my life. I reside in Falconer, and I work in Falconer with my husband and my family. Over the last few years, I have seen how our community has deteriorated, and I realized that instead of complaining about it, it was time to take action. So I decided to do the research and create a neighborhood watch program. You will see these everywhere in Falconer now. We are beating the streets. I am talking to people, I am going into businesses, and I have decided that it is time to take action. We need to see some change in Falconer. Falconer is going places. You heard the mayor talk tonight about the revitalization program and everybody else. We have new businesses, we have Nicky's, we have all of these things coming into our Falconer, into our village of Falconer. And we can no longer be crippled by what is coming into these motels. We don't feel safe in our community to walk down our streets alone. We don't want to send our children out, and we are not that kind of village. That is not the village that we grew up in. So we have created this neighborhood watch program. We have put lawn signs up. We have put decals in businesses. We have talked to everybody. We have created a meeting that we are going to be having our village residents attend. Again, tomorrow night at the Falconer Public Library, 6 p.m. We'll be summarizing all of the things that we have, the notifications we have received from our residents. Since the onset of this on July 23rd, we have 894 concerned members in our community. And I have learned more about what's been going on than I think I wanted to know. I don't want that to cover the good things that are going in Falconer, and that is why I'm here tonight. These are real things that we are facing on a day-to-day basis. We have pictures, we have videos. We have lived in this now with these motels in our community for 4 to 5 years. We as a village do not feel safe, and this is costing our village a ton of money. Our resources between the sheriff's department, the police officers, the theft in the stores that is increasing, this is costing us. We are being held as hostages in our own village because of these residents coming in. They're not residents because they should not be staying there for more than 30 days. This is not fair to place the burden of these programs on our small village of 2,263 people. We lack the resources to give these people, to help them thrive. Our watch group is making a stand, and I'm not going away. I've promised the village residents that we're going to stay here, that we're going to fight with them. I know I speak for all of them. So I feel that we have done our due diligence as Falconer. We have served it. We have had them here for 4 or 5 years, and we want to grow into something different now. So I don't want these motels to continue to cripple our growth. So I'm asking for your support in making alternative opportunities for these residents, and not only support our group, our residents, but also our mayor and our decisions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Sheriff?
Jim Quattrone, Chautauqua County Sheriff. So first of all, thank you, Mr. Benkowski, and to the rest of the legislative body. That week of September 17th to the 23rd, we're going to have some open houses, so the Mayville Center should be complete. We also would love to have you all take a tour of the jail and see some of the services we do there. But I am not from Falconer. I did teach DARE there. I am a Southwestern grad, for those of you who are from Falconer are afraid of this, my rival school. But transitional housing is an issue. It's been an issue for many years. It's probably our biggest issue when we're releasing people from the Chautauqua County Jail, where they're going to go, where they're going to live. Many times they're coming back to the jail because they have no place to live. But it's not just a Chautauqua County legislative body problem. This is every municipality in Chautauqua County needs to be involved. We need to get the mayors involved, the town supervisors involved, and find ways and find places for individuals to stay. Some of you who know me personally know my bedtime is about 9 p.m. And Monday night at 11, which is way past my bedtime, we spent several hours trying to find some place for a mother and a 15-month-old child to spend the night, which was not fun. We tried as many hotels as we could, and there wasn't funding for them, so somebody paid out of their personal credit card to get them housing, probably because of that 15-month-old. But it is an issue. It's not going to go away until we can all put our minds together. The Neighborhood Watch is a great idea. Nosy neighbors, some people consider our pain, but they're our best security that are out there, and we need to watch out for each other and report that. But be smart about it. So I'm hoping those who are involved in Neighborhood Watch get some training, in that there's some joint training around the county for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Anthony, it's finally your turn. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Anthony Toda, 144 Clifton Avenue, Jamestown, New York. Over the years, I've been active as a pro se litigant and have prevailed in vehicle and traffic, criminal, and civil actions. Last year, I was involved in a vehicle and traffic incident in Jamestown that I subsequently appealed to the Chautauqua County Court, Judge David Foley presiding. I appealed because the Jamestown City Court Judge, George Ponabianco, made an illegal ruling in the case, as Judge Ponabianco had been disqualified from hearing any of my cases. Judge Foley, who previously ordered transfers of my other cases from a biased Jamestown court, now ruled that I had no right to appeal Judge Ponabianco's illegal ruling. Further, during my appeal process, Judge Foley's law clerk, Ms. Beckerink, altered deadlines and closed procedures in the appeal prematurely, which resulted in the denial of my right to be heard concerning errors made by Judge Ponabianco during this appeal. I explained in my objections in this appeal that Judge Ponabianco's illegal ruling closed the case and resulted in the protection of perjurious statements made by witnesses in last year's incident. Judge Ponabianco's ruling also protects the Jamestown police, who failed to supply me with depositions when I asked for them. Judge Foley's affirmation of the illegal order by Judge Ponabianco stopped my opportunity to transfer this case to achieve a fair disposition. I have evidence that the ruination of my life is caused by federal agencies like the FBI, Jamestown, Buffalo, and even DC headquarters, whose agents have made statements to me of threatening to shoot me, tampering with my brand new truck, and telling me that there were no agents in FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. Senator Schumer and Gillibrand and Congressman Reed, Sempolinski, and Langworthy have refused to review this evidence. I am confident that there is a connection between the perjurious statement of witnesses over last year's incident and these federal perpetrators. Now the ruling of two judges, George Ponabianco of the local court and Chautauqua County Court Judge David Foley, have the result of protecting these perjurious witnesses. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Anyone else? Seeing no one. Legislator Davis.
Make a motion we adjourn.
A motion to adjourn, a second by Legislator Bankowski. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.